All right, good morning. So today what we're going to do is continue our practice with surface area. Instead of using rectangular prisms, today we're going to be using triangular prisms. So let's first review just how to find the area of a triangle. Okay, so on our first page here we have our formula of area equals length times height, or sometimes you'll see length times width. But the big thing is that you divide it by 2. So when we're finding the area of a triangle, one thing that you always have to have is that the two lengths that you are multiplying times each other, the length and the height, they have to make a 90-degree angle. So you'll see that by this little square in a corner. So even though this triangle here is just this yellow shape right here, that's our triangle, we see these little dotted lines that come down, and that's called an altitude. And they've dropped this line and extended this line a little bit with these dotted lines to make a 90-degree angle. And then that's how we know that this is the height of the triangle and the length of the triangle. So we can take these two measurements, since they make a 90-degree angle, we can take these two measurements to multiply and then divide those in half to find the area of a triangle. Now let's review really quick, why do we divide a triangle's area in half? For a rectangle's area, and you don't have to write this down, but just kind of listen and watch for a second. A rectangle's area equals just the length times the height, or the length times the width, right? So either way, it's just the two measurements. And a triangle is half of that, because if I take any triangle, like let's take this green triangle up here at the top. So I have this green triangle that's similar to that one up at the top there. I can draw a second triangle that looks exactly the same to make a rectangle. So that means that a triangle is finding the same measurements as a rectangle, but then cutting it in half, because the triangle is only half of the rectangle's area. All right, so let's keep going then with our measurements for today to find the area of these triangles. All right, so let me just erase this really quick. Okay, so for our first triangle here, our yellow triangle, we're going to use that formula, A equals length times height divided by 2. So our length is going to be 12, our height is going to be 10, and then we divide that by 2. All right, so 12 times 10 is going to give us 120, and 120 divided by 2 is going to give us 60. So that would give us 60 meters squared, just for the area of that triangle. All right, so then let's practice finding the area of this triangle. So again, our formula is the length times the height divided by 2. So our length is going to be 8. Our height is going to be 3. So we would multiply those together and divide by 2. All right, well, 8 times 3 is going to give us 24. 24 divided by 2 is going to give us 12 centimeters squared. All right, so that was just a good review of how to find area of a triangle. Now that's going to be important, because now we're going to find the surface area of a triangular prism. And remember, surface area of a triangular prism is going to be very similar to finding surface area of a rectangular prism. It just means that you find the area of all of the surfaces and then add those surfaces together. So in our definition, it says that the surface area of a triangular prism is the area of its net. Now remember, a net is just a shape that is spread out. Remember when we found the area of our rectangular prism, we cut up our cereal box and we laid it on the table, and it was a net, right? It was a flattened version of that rectangular prism. So a triangular prism specifically is going to have 3 rectangular faces. So it's going to still have some rectangles. Rectangular faces and 2 congruent triangular bases. And this word congruent, in case you don't remember or know what this word means, that's okay. We're going to start using that word quite a bit in our next unit. Congruent just means something that is equal. So a triangular prism is made up of 3 rectangles, which we can see here, 1, 2, 3, and 2 equal triangular bases. So here are our 2 equal triangles. So this triangle doesn't have any measurements, but in order for it to be a prism, it has to have 2 equal triangles. Otherwise, what would happen is that these rectangles would have to be different sizes, so it wouldn't work. Okay, it wouldn't make that shape. So we can assume that if it's a triangular prism, the 2 triangles are equal triangles. All right, so let's jump to our next page. So using that same triangular prism that we just saw on our last page, we're going to find the surface area of that triangular prism. So what we're doing is adding 3 rectangles. So I'm just going to draw us our little formula here. 3 rectangles plus 2 triangles. All right, so let's first just go easy and let's find the area of our 3 rectangles. So this rectangle right here, my first one, this purple rectangle right here, it has 11, and let's see, we have to look really carefully at what our side measurements are. So this side right here is going to be a 5. Now this one, and you can zoom in a little bit, this 4 right here, it almost looks like it could be this measurement. But look really carefully at this arrow, and it's telling us that the 4 is actually for this dotted line in the triangle. So we're not going to use this 4 to help us find the area of this rectangle. We might use it when we get to the triangle part. Okay, so this first purple rectangle is an 11 by 5 rectangle. So we have an 11 times 5 rectangle. All right, so 11 times 5 is going to give us 55. So far we know this guy right here, 11 times 5, and I'm just going to use this to help us visualize what we're doing. So that first purple triangle is 11 times 5. Now we can see that this second purple triangle is exactly the same. It's 11 and it's 5. So then we know that this one is also 55. So I'm just going to write that right here too, 11 times 5. And it's not always that some of your rectangles will be the same measurement. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. So you just have to look at the picture pretty clearly. All right, so I'm going to erase this just so we don't have any confusion. All right, so now we've got one more rectangle to find, and it's this red rectangle right here, which also happens to be the bottom of the rectangle. All right, so we can see from this picture here and from this one over here that this line that I just colored in black is also 11, the same as the purple. So it's going to be 11, but then its width is 6. All right, so this one is 11 times 6, which is 66 centimeters. All right, so we found the area of our 3 rectangles. So now we need to find the area of our 2 triangles. All right, so our 2 triangles, we need to find that length times height divided by 2. So Let's take a look at which one. Remember what I told you, that a triangle has to have a 90-degree angle, and those are the two measurements that you choose to look at. So right there is that little square, and you can see it here too. That little square in the corner, that tells you that that's your 90-degree angle. So you use those two lines to help you find the area of this triangle. So the two lines that connect that 90-degree angle are this one, so that's 4, and this one. Those are the two that make that 90-degree angle. So this guy right here is the same as this one right here, so that means it's 6, right? That guy right there is 6. All right, so the length and the height of my triangle are 4 times 6, and then we have to divide it by 2 because it's a triangle. All right, so 4 times 6 is going to give us 24. 24 divided by 2 is going to give us 12. All right, so that means that this triangle is 12. And then what we have to do is we know that our two triangles are congruent, so this triangle is also 12. So really, we're just going to take that 12 and multiply it by 2. And that's going to bring us back to 24, because remember what we said, two equal triangles make up one rectangle. So really what's happening is the multiplying it by 2 and the dividing it by 2 are just canceling each other out. So our two triangles will add up to be 24. All right, guys, so now what we're going to do is we have to add up, in order to find surface area, we have to add up all of our areas. So we have 55 plus 55 plus 66 plus 24. All right, so we're going to add all those up, 55 plus 55 plus 66 plus 24. And we're going to add all those up, plus 66 plus 24, and we would find that our triangular prism is 200 centimeters squared. All right, so when we add all of those areas together, we get 200 centimeters squared. All right, if you need to pause the video to make sure you finish your notes, please do that. And otherwise, I'm going to move on to another example. All right, so now in this example, we do not have the net. We don't have the drawn out picture of the shape laid out flat on the table. So we're going to have to imagine it that way. And if it's helpful for you, you could draw that net, but I think you'll find that it's also okay to be able to just find those shapes. And especially when you work on notability, you can draw lines and erase them to help you identify those. Okay, so we have 3 rectangles, right? We have a rectangle that's on the bottom of our triangular prism. We have a rectangle that is on the side, this one right here, this front side. And then we have a rectangle that's on this back side of our triangle, that like left side of the triangle, okay? So this one looks kind of like a tent, right? It's got a floor, and then it's got this right side and this left side. All right, so let's just start with this right side. It's right here, it's in front of us, it's super easy to see. So since this is a rectangle, I can see right here that I've got my two sides. I've got 5 and I've got 7. So rectangle 1 is going to be 5 times 7. All right, let's find rectangle 2. So let's do this other bottom one right here. All right, so this bottom one, I can see we've got 6 and we've got 7. So 6 times 7 is my bottom rectangle. And then I just have this side rectangle. So right here I can see that it's 5, so that side is 5. And then if this bottom here is 7, then that means that this bottom here is 7. So that one's going to be 5 times 7 as well, just like the first one was. All right. So I'm going to just really quick, I'm going to multiply up my rectangles. And it wouldn't matter if you went on to find your areas of your triangles first. That would be fine. So 5 times 7 is 35. And that means that this one is also 35. and 6 times 7 is 42. Okay, so those are my two rectangles. So now I've got to find the area of my triangle. And remember, my two triangles are exactly the same. They have to be, otherwise it's not a triangular prism. Now the other thing is that we have to remember that with the triangle, in order to find the area of the triangle, we use the two lines that make this 90-degree angle. And they put it in red for us, and I'm just highlighting that 90-degree angle in red. So the first line that does that is this one right here, which is 4. And then this bottom one right here. Those two lines are the ones that connect to make that 90-degree angle. So it's 4 times 6. Now normally, remember, for a triangular prism, our area of a triangle is going to be area times length times height divided by 2, right? But remember, we have two triangles. So since we have two triangles, we're going to multiply that by 2 because there's two of them. So guess what happens? This 2 cancels out this 2 because if the length and height is divided by 2 and then multiplied by 2, you're going to get the same answer. Let me show you. 4 times 6 divided by 2. So 4 times 6 is 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. And then since we have two triangles, we have to multiply it by 2, which is 24. Okay, so they get us to that same place. So it's okay if you want to take the long way, divide by 2 and then multiply by 2. Or you can think about the fact that you have two triangles, so I don't have to divide and multiply by 2. All right, so these are my areas. So I'm going to add those areas up, 35 plus 42 plus 35 plus 24. I'm going to add all of those areas together. So 10 plus 6, so we've got 16. And then 5, 9, all right, 10, 13. So 136. Yep, 136 meters squared is my final surface area for this triangular prism. Okay, we're going to try one more together, and then I'm going to have you try a couple on your own for practice. All right, so I'm going to just find my 3 rectangles again. So here's my first rectangle right here, this front guy, this front right rectangle. And so this front rectangle here, it has a couple different measurements, but this line right here is 10, and this line right here is 9. So 10 times 9. All right, and then I've got my next rectangle, which is going to be here, so that's 9. And then this same guy, which we just saw, is also 9. So 9 times 9. All right. And then I've got my back rectangle. So this guy back here is 13.5 times 9. That's my back rectangle. So if you ever can't see it, just trace the whole thing. Does it make a rectangle? Sure does. That's my back rectangle. And then find your 2 measurements, right? Of this one is the same as this guy here, and this one is the same as this one. So 13.5 by 9. All right, so let's do our triangle. So for our triangle, remember we're looking for the 2 sides that give us the 90-degree angle, that little square. Now one thing I notice is that we have 13.5, which is for this line. But this line doesn't make the 90-degree angle. So that measurement is only helping us with the rectangle. It's not helping us for the triangle. So we're looking for this line and this line because they're the 2 lines that connect to make that 90-degree angle. So this one we can see is 10. If the bottom one is 10, then the top one is 10. So we've got 10. And then this one is 9 because if the bottom one is 9, then the top one is 9. All right. And now it's for a triangle. So since it's for a triangle, we've got area equals the length times the height. We divide it by 2, but then there are 2 of them, so we have to multiply by 2. All right, now I'm going to cancel out those 2's because 10 times 9 divided by 2 times 2 is doing the same thing. Those are opposites, so they just cancel each other out. So that means 10 times 9 is 90. So the 2 triangles are equaling 90. All right, so let's find the area of our rectangles and then add these guys all together. 10 times 9 is 90. 9 times 9 is 81. 13.5 times 9 is 121.5. All right, so we're going to add all those together. 90 plus 90 plus 81 plus 121.5. All right, we're going to add all those together. And we get 382.5 inches squared. All right, great job. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take some time and practice. There's 4 more problems. I want you to practice these 4. The answers are at the end. And then submit your work to Schoology. So you're just doing some practice. See if you can get the same answers that are listed on the last page. And then go ahead and submit your work to Schoology. But please show all of your work, just like we did on our practice problems. All right, great job today. Talk to you later.